That whole concept of I jump in cold to be able to recover for muscle recovery is actually the opposite. Because blood flow is key. I mean, blood flow is extremely important. I mean, if you have pain, you could deal with local cooling to be able to deal with that pain. But ultimately, the healing process requires blood flow.
And that's why they've changed the RISE model to the MEAT model, which is movement, exercise, analgesic, and treatment, and not rest, ice, compression, elevation, because it doesn't work.
You're listening to Centré sur l'équilibre, the podcast by Strom Nordic Spa. Discover bold, innovative wellness content brought to you in partnership with experts from diverse backgrounds. Join us on this quest for balance, one episode at a time. Hi, we are very excited to present to you the very first English language episode of this podcast. My name is Evelyne Charuet. We are excited because we know we have an Anglophone community out there, and we were looking for the perfect topic to reach out to this English community, and we have found it. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about the effect of heat on the human body, on the health, specifically talking about heat waves and saunas. So we have reunited two guests that are specialists of the question. Earric Lee, hello, welcome to you.
Hi.
You are a postdoctoral researcher. You are interested specifically in athletes and the effects of sauna on health, correct?
Yeah, I was initially, well, in the beginning of my career, interested in athletes. And now I've moved on to vulnerable populations. So I'm more interested in studying how to use heat to help those people.
So a broader population, it's probably a wise move on your part.
Yeah, because there's not much money in sports. So.
Oh, right. We also have François Haman, who's with us. Bonjour. Professor à l'Université d'Ottawa au département des sciences in the health department of Ottawa University. We have met before on this podcast. As you were walking out, François, you said, it's great to talk about the cold, but let's talk about the heat. That would be a great episode. So thanks to you for putting this episode together.
Very happy.
Do you know each other, or is
no?
This the
So we actually talked for the first time this morning, which is hilarious. And,
yeah.
And it's so thermophysiology is a very small field. Everybody knows each other.
Really?
Like there's actually, especially within Canada, but now what's funny is we actually have colleagues from Finland, people I'm actively working with, and that Earric has worked with for a long time. So it's kind of interesting to see how much of a small family it is.
Yeah.
And no, I'm really happy that we met.
Yeah. Earric, you knew of François.
Kind of. I heard of the name, rang a bell, but wasn't familiar with.
Yeah, I'm not hot enough. I'm too cool. That's the problem.
He's too cool.
I'm
Exactly.
too cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you two are meeting. As we speak, we have fans going. It's the heart of summer. It's really hot outside. I'd like to talk about the heat waves that we're experiencing sooner and sooner in the season. We have some in May. We have some in June. What is happening to our bodies during these times, Earric?
Okay, so what's happening is essentially when the heat is of the environment, right? We talk about environmental heat stress. What it drives is very likely a rise in your skin temperature. Now, we look at the human body in this particular way, which physiologists have looked at, which is the two-component model. So we have a shell, which is the skin, so the skin temperature. And then we have the core, which is then the core temperature. So there's always a constant balancing act between the temperature of the skin and the temperature of the core. Now, when we go into these heat waves, or when we are exposed to environments that are really hot, our skin temperature goes up. The core temperature rarely changes much, but then an interesting thing happens, and this is because of the work of Dr. Zachary Schlatter. We actually start engaging in what we call thermoregulatory behavior. So we go into the shade, we take a shower, we drink cold water, and this is all a form of behavioral alteration of your thermoregulation physiology. So when these things happen, we try to lower, and most of the time it's because the skin temperature is very high. So we try to reduce the skin temperature, although the core temperature doesn't really go up. However, in these kinds of conditions, if it's prolonged over a long period of time, and we have to remember that some people say, oh, well, it's not that hot because the UAE is hotter, Saudi Arabia is hotter. But we forget that people who live there have been acclimated to that. or acclimatized to that, just to use the right term. So their bodies physiologically can deal with that a little bit better than people who are living in the four seasons, such as in Montreal. So when these things happen, when the heat goes up really high and for long stretches of time.
What do you mean by long stretches? A week?
A week is long.
Okay.
A week, and you're talking about like the humidex temperature to be like between 36 to 38. Anything above 36 is really like, for me as a healthy individual, for us as healthy individuals, is fine. But then for older people, people who have cardiac issues, people who are susceptible to heart failure, who have some kind of cardiovascular disease, known or unknown, it's very dangerous because you get to a point where the system can't function in the sense that the heat buildup. So you have the heat buildup, and because older adults and people with diseases have a harder time dissipating heat, they store a lot of heat inside, and that's when you can get heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and other things like that.
That's when the core temperature is rising.
Oh yeah. That's when the core temperature starts rising. Because when we talked about what I said earlier, the two component model, you have your shell and your core. So there's a constant exchange. So cooler temperature, the blood that is cooler and on the skin surface will circulate to the core, and the blood from the core will circulate out to the skin. So then there is convection and there's evaporation, you start sweating. So basically your skin is trying to help you regulate your core temperature, and vice versa. It could be, depending on the environment, right? So vulnerable populations and
then this could include children. So,
So
one thing we tend to forget is that you don't have to be in a disease state. Children transfer heat very quickly. So it means they can heat up very quickly, but they can cool down very quickly. So again, the behavioral component is really important in children. To
When you say children, do you mean infants, or do you mean like children up to 6 or 7 or 8 years old?
Yeah, I mean the smaller, it's a size effect. So the smaller you are, the more at risk you're going to be. So again, body size matters, just like what we had for cold. And for when they're smaller individuals, you're way more at risk of gaining heat quickly. But the advantage is if you're healthy, you can actually lose that heat very quickly if you make the right decisions.
Right.
So often we think, okay, I'm not at risk because I'm younger. Well, that's not quite the way it works. It's affected by body mass quite a bit.
Yeah.
Will those heat waves become a public health issue in the short term, you think?
Isn't it already?
I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, it is. Well, at least to me, I feel like it is. Some of my colleagues in Europe and also here in Montreal, we've been looking at trying to design a research project to see if we can use heat acclimation or heat therapy to help people cope with hotter temperatures.
What would that be? Heat therapy, for example?
So we would try to expose a person or a group of persons to regular sauna, let's say. Regular sauna for, this is just off the top of my head, we haven't really designed anything yet, but an hour, three to four times a week, and seeing if this can help people cope with hotter temperatures better.
It seems like a long time, an hour, no?
Oh yeah, it is a long time.
I mean, I've sat in the sauna just this week, and I lasted 5 minutes, and I got out. I mean, an hour seems outrageous.
But we also have to remember that we live very comfortable lives, right? We live in thermoneutral conditions. I mean, we've attributed this to multiple risk of diseases. One thing that when we talk about the risk at a population level, and especially if we focus on, I mean, Europe right now is suffering from tremendous heat. But in Canada, what we're getting that we haven't seen as much in the past, and I've seen that when I was working up north in First Nation communities, is these large fluctuations in temperature, where this is, again, no chance to get used to basically anything. You get very cold day or coolish day and then a super warm day. And this takes a lot of resilience on a physiological basis to be able to respond to these very dramatic changes, which to me, again, we can't attribute it to, I don't know the exact reason why this is occurring at the weather level, but what you can see is physiologically, these are very challenging conditions.
Because it takes a few hours, if not a few days, to acclimatize to massive heat. We see it when we travel, for example. We get to Southeast Asia and the humidity just hits us like crazy, right?
Yeah, like a warm blanket.
Yes, like a warm blanket. But how long does it take to actually get used to it?
Well, based on just looking at heat acclimation data and studies, between 7 to 14 days generally, but that's for the athletic population.
Oh.
So I would assume for recreationally trained individuals, so people who at least exercise a little bit, between 14 to 21 days isn't too much to ask for.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it's longer than the holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Often.
Yeah.
Unless you're very lucky.
Yeah. So you might start training before you go for your vacation.
Yeah, of course. François, you say that we live in a very comfortable world. I want to touch on that because we are in spaces that are always conditioned. We have air conditioning everywhere, in the car, in offices. What do you think of AC? Do you think it helps us, or does it hinder our capacity to regulate and adapt?
Well, Earric kind of touched on it, and this is the component that's very important in terms of thermoregulation, is your capacity to behave properly to regulate your temperature. And animals are very good at it, by the way. So again, I'm a comparative physiologist, so for me, I got to bring animals in. Animals are experts at knowing how to regulate their temperature using behavior. They don't focus just on their biology to be able to regulate. What we tend to do is in the winter, we put a lot of heat. We don't want to be cold. And then in the summer, we don't want to be hot. So we blast the air conditioning. So the AC is a good thing. I mean, I'm sure it's saving lives. I'm convinced that it would save lives, but I think it's overused. Not only is it very difficult on the energy budget of the whole country dealing with this, but also the question is, you don't give your chance to your body to get used to these conditions. And I think you need to find that balance. Again, coming back to the idea of balance, you need to realize that, and I often say that when I work with soldiers, in the cold, you will be cold. In the heat, you will be hot.
Expect it.
Expect it. And the way to be able to get to acclimation levels is to be able to accept the fact that you're going to be facing it. And what do you need to do to be able to face either cold or hot? And what is the right behaviors to be able to not have any risks or reduce the amount of risk that you could have? So in my mind, we're overusing a lot of the heating and a lot of the AC for the heat. I think we're totally overusing it.
What about you, Earric?
Two things to say. One, I used to tell my athletes that embrace the suck. So you got to
embrace the suck. Okay.
So I've used that many, many times.
So if it's hot, deal with it. If it's cold, deal with it. Whatever situation. If you want to be an athlete, you want to be a high performer, you have to deal with it. But anyway, the point that Francois brought up is very valid. But I want to add on top of that the fact that on a large global level, if we all start turning on ACs, we're creating more heat to the environment, and then the environment itself will not cool down any further. That has on its own some other kind of impact as well. I'm not a climatologist. I'm not an environmentalist. I don't know these things. But I would assume, based on the fact that what I've read is that, you know, using air conditioners and ACs, you do create heat into the atmosphere. So that in itself will then create a warmer environment, and then it's a bad cycle to be stuck in. Right?
It's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Basically.
So maybe we should ditch the ACs, you know,
and sweat it out.
Yeah, sweat it out, or reduce the amount of AC usage, like Francois said. We'll have to reach a kind of good balance point where it's like, okay, we'll use it, but then maybe for certain people who need it.
Yeah, like the elderly, like children, like hospitals. Yeah.
And it does come to this too. Like, again, these are very important points in terms of embrace the suck, but you also have to remember that Mother Nature will kick your ass every single time. So
humility.
If you think you're going to be tougher than the heat wave and you think you can go run and during the highest temperatures, high humidity, you'll get your ass kicked.
Interesting.
So it's that balance about embracing the suck, but not being stupid about it and being self-aware about what am I facing and how to face it.
So what about the core temperature? Let's say we all have a range like we've established. We don't have, was it 37.1 that we thought for a very long time that humans had the same temperature? It's false. What if there's fluctuations in that, or our ranges are much different? Let's say I'm cooler than François, for example. Will my tolerance to heat change then?
Yes.
Okay.
But we presumably so, because when your core temperature rises by 1 degree, you're going to go through a good amount of change, physiological change in your body, the heat shock proteins and all that kind of stuff, right? the processes happen. And we've tested in the lab, we usually get people to reach about a thermal sensation of like thermal discomfort, let's call it, of 9 out of a scale of 10, when we generally increase their core temperature by 1.2 above their baseline.
Wow.
So let's say you go into the lab and we found out that through the esophageal probe that your core temperature is at 36, okay? And then we heat you up till you're 37.2. And somebody going in at 37 will get heated up to 38.2, right? Where we're looking at a plus 1.2 degrees Celsius increase. And generally by 1 degree, we don't even need that 0.2. Most people are already reporting a thermal discomfort of 8 or 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah. So it's relative to the amount raised rather than an absolute number, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I understand.
So, and the challenge in the lab is nobody's coming in with the same baseline. So you basically ended up with people with different backgrounds, different exposure levels. We're getting all of them. When you're lucky and you get athletes that all do the same sports in the same place at the same temperatures. But that's what we need to remember, is that we're trying to draw conclusions, blanket statements about how do we respond to these, to heat or cold or heat in this sense. But the reality of it is sweat rate affects it. Your body mass affects it. There could be also medication that could be affecting it. For women, you're dealing with the menstrual cycle also that will change temperature. So all these things are all put together, and then people show up to the lab and you're trying to draw a conclusion with this, and you're going, okay, how do I do this? Again, scientists were really good at making up stories with the data we get, and we're excited about it. But at the end of the day, what I would say when you deal with temperature is also to learn about your own body's responses to it and how you handle it. And one part that Earric was mentioning, which is super important, is actually how you feel in the cold or in the heat. If you feel uncomfortable and not well, that's showing you a good sign that it's probably not a good condition for you. So again, not to ignore and say, okay, well, the scientist said I'm going to be fine. Earric said I'm going to be fine.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. Don't listen to me.
But at the same time, if you're in a lab, you want to do well. You want to respond to what people are asking of you. Right. And there's an aspect, I think, of mental toughness as well. Like how much can you handle? Some people cannot handle pain whatsoever. And some people have a really high threshold. So, I mean, I understand that it's quite hard for you guys to figure it out.
So like they say in the movie Dune, fear is the mind killer. So
I like that you quoted Dune.
Yeah, I was so happy, so excited to quote Dune. So I actually quoted multiple times because I think that scene in the movie Dune explains it all. And it was actually with heat. I don't remember, he puts his hand in the box and he's basically it's heating up.
Burning, yeah.
It's burning. And at some point, you needed to let it flow and accept it, right? Fear is the mind killer. And these responses are normal responses, right? To be able to grow outside of this zone, you need to accept, again, sit with the suck to a certain extent. But do it in a safe way to be able to grow out of it, right? I don't want to go as far as say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, because that sounds pretty dramatic.
Oh, but it's very bro-y.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
This is not the place.
No. Yes. But I think you need to remember there needs a certain level of resilience and enduring conditions that are not normal conditions. And you need to be able to endure it. And I think that's what happens with heat. You go into a sauna, sauna.
You say properly the Finnish way. Congrats.
Yeah, the Finnish way, just in case Tommy's watching this. But what you need to remember is that you will need to sit with the suck to a certain extent to be able to grow. Just like with exercise. I started training, there's literally no difference. I changed my diet, there's no difference. I got to tolerate things that are changing in my diet. It's all the same. When you deal with heat and cold, you need to endure these conditions to a certain extent.
François, you've already answered to this question, so I'll let Earric answer. What is your definition of balance?
My definition of balance is encompassing as much aspects of human experience as possible. So it could be grief, fear, anxiety, happiness, sadness, all the different kinds of emotions, all the kinds of experiences that you can have, whether it's like an adrenaline rush whether it's getting injured, getting a serious injury during sports, or like accumulating as much experiences as you can as a person would give you that balance.
As a human person, like just as a human, like experiencing all the human possibilities out there.
Yeah, or as much as one can afford, let's say, because sometimes you don't have the time, sometimes you don't have the financial resource, sometimes you don't have the talent. Like, for example, you might want to swim, but you can't. You know, for your life, you can't learn how to swim, and you'll just be happy sitting in the pool watching other people swim. But that's okay.
Yeah.
You're still part of the experience. So
interesting. Well, I can assure you we've never had this answer before. So thank you, Earric.
Oh, not bad.
So we talked about adaptation to the heat and the climate, but what about the proven effects of heat on the body? What are the benefits, the real measurable benefits of heat on the body, Earric?
Based on the findings that we see, a lot of the hot water immersion stuff that's coming out of the UK, so using heat but through a different medium, which is water, they seem to show a lot of improvements in insulin regulation, glucose regulation for diabetic patients, for people with periphery artery disease, PAD, for other ranges of, let's say, peripheral cardiovascular disease. So anything that's related to blood flow, it seems to be very, very useful. It seems to work really well. Even for people with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, hot water immersion works fairly well as well. When you look at the sauna, there haven't been many studies that use the sauna to help people to go through, let's call them medical conditions, or diseases and illnesses.
What has been studied on
it seems
so
to
far?
reduce risk factors. So,
Okay.
I mean, it's not about physiologically demonstrating somebody that would have, let's say, cardiovascular disease, treating it. But it does show as actually, and if you go into a sauna, you're going to get, be careful if you have any type of cardiovascular disease, make sure you get.
Yeah, there are some warnings at the entrance, usually.
There are some warnings, and for very good reason. But most of the research has been focusing mainly on the risk factors and reducing the risk factors. And there seems to be a very good relationship. And it's funny that Earric said we don't know very much with heat, because we know so much in heat compared to cold.
Oh.
And with cold, we basically can cure any disease, right? If you listen to social media, you can deal with obesity, diabetes, inflammation, improves inflammation, which heat seems to do a better job, by the way.
Yeah.
It also seems to improve the immune system, which has never been proven, very hard to prove when it comes to cold. Maybe grow hair, like I'm still trying, and it's still not doing very much. But with the heat, we'd actually have tons of evidence that the heat is actually having way more benefits. So maybe the cold and the balance between the two and increasing the range is maybe what is key. Right? Where you're actually pushing your cardiovascular system to go to one extent in terms of vasodilation, then you bring them into vasoconstriction with cold, allows you to go back into the sauna and do it again and extend your time that you can actually expose yourself. So there's actually way more evidence for heat being good. And I'm going to add another one, which is very interesting, is heat. And I think I said that on the first podcast, is actually one of the best ways to improve cold acclimation. Because it allows blood flow to the periphery. It allows you to be able to increase the capacity to get blood to the periphery without having the injuries coming from exposing yourself chronically to cold.
Yeah. It's like vein training.
Yeah, it's like vein training. And it basically increases the heat and the warm blood that can make it to the periphery. So, I mean, I vote for heat, honestly. Like, I think cold brings other stuff for sure. I think there's a lot of it that needs to be proven, but I think on the heat side, there's been really good research, and what Danielle Gagnon has been doing and your team have been doing, it's amazing work. And I think this is, again, showing that heat has clear benefits for health.
Okay. Maybe my answer earlier was a bit too modest. Okay.
You're a modest guy. That's okay.
So let's try.
I'm less modest. Sorry.
There has been a lot of studies that have been performed that showed that adding heat in the form of acclimation, whether it's post-exercise for athletes, runners, female long-distance runners. They've done that research in England, and they found improvements to cardiorespiratory fitness, VO2 max, as a marker of cardiorespiratory fitness. In my study that I performed in Finland, we've also used sauna after exercise, and we found improvements in cardiorespiratory fitness as well, and lowered blood pressure, systolic blood pressure, and also lowered total cholesterol levels. So there are these things that happen.
Yeah, are measurable.
And also muscle recovery. So there seems to be work right now. So with heat, you get the release of heat shock proteins. And again, that plays a role. But it seems to be also favorable with the blood flow to improve muscle recovery. Yeah. So that whole concept of I jump in cold to be able to recover for muscle recovery is actually the opposite. Because blood flow is key. I mean, blood flow is extremely important. I mean, if you have pain, you could deal with local cooling to be able to deal with that pain. But ultimately, the healing process requires blood flow.
Yeah. And that's why they've changed the RISE model to the MEAT model, which is movement, exercise, analgesic, and treatment, and not rest, ice, compression, elevation, because it doesn't work. When your body needs healing, it needs inflammation. When you ice it, you're reducing inflammation. If you reduce inflammation, how are you going to heal?
That's counterproductive. Yeah. We should go for heat, definitely. Yeah. I want to just jump on what you said about social media. There's tons of things that are being said about heat and saunas. Yeah. And one of them being sauna will replace a workout. Please tell me this is not true.
That'd be awesome, eh?
I almost spit the water. Yeah, it's kind of like saying, okay, here's a pill. Company ABC just invented a pill. Eat it. You don't have to exercise. Just eat it 3 times a week and you're good. Too good to be true, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you do need to increase your metabolic rate. At the end of the day, like, again, there's far more. So it's funny. It's the same. And we might talk about this. When we say heat or we say cold or we say exercise, we need to qualify what that means and or quantify and say, okay, what do you actually mean by this? Do I increase heart rate? Yes, it's a Q10 effect. So basically my heart is heating up. So my heart rate will go up. So I get increase in ventilation because I'm losing more heat. I do get changes peripherally, but what you get is very small change in metabolic rate. It's a very, very small change. When I exercise, I will double my metabolic rate, triple, quadruple. I can go to 20 times my metabolic rate. We're not even talking on the same scale. So it's not a question of, and what is the purpose of it? Like, what are you trying really to achieve with this? And I mean, if you end up at VO2 max in the heat, then you've been in the heat too long. Oh yeah, because that's not a good sign. So I mean, this makes absolutely no sense. Like that's not the purpose of using especially on a therapeutic side. It's not the purpose of using these.
I just think we're fundamentally lazy and we're looking for ways to shortcut benefits. So
yeah, I think so too. And one of those really important things to remember when it comes to like the metabolism, the energy expenditure is different. You know, when you work out, there's mechanical stress, there's load, there's shear stress, fibers are moving, things are being, work is being done. It's just a basic work equation, right? So you can't replace that. When you sit in the sauna, you might have the similar cardiovascular responses, but then that might be it. Whereas for exercise, a ton of other things are happening. I don't want to get too
and not just the function of heart rate. So it's not just my heart rate goes up. It's like exercise. Well, no, that's not how it works.
There's things like mTOR and
my understanding of it is after you work out, you go sit in a sauna and then you'll get some benefit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
you do it yourself just before coming here.
Exactly.
You just bike in Montreal and
heat acclimation.
So if we are looking for benefits from the sauna, how often should we do it?
So the jury's out on this for multiple reasons. I was looking at papers again related to this. There seems to be the idea that even doing it every single day a week but again, it's a question of what temperature do you go at. Like what extreme of temperature, the sauna in Scandinavia, people have the impression they go to extremely high temperatures. Here we go to very high temperatures. So even tolerating 10, 15 minutes is very challenging. I mean, again, it's a function of temperature. I don't think heat exposure on a regular basis, meaning that every day you do it, would be a huge issue, as long as you don't get to ranges that could actually start damaging tissues or way too high.
Oh, yeah.
And what temperature would that be?
Well, my indication for it is basically my change in heart rate, which is funny because we just talked about heart rate. But when my heart rate starts going up, it also means that my core temperature starts changing. It means that my body's responding to these changes. So it is changing, trying to dissipate heat. But if you feel the pounding, you've been there way too long. I mean, you should not stay to that extent. So can we put minutes to this? Like I would say, you know, with cold, I always said 1 to 2 minutes. We don't go over 1 to 2 minutes. With heat, I would say 10 minutes. Like I would say a 10-minute sauna, maybe 15-minute sauna. I would stay within that range. But if you stay in the sauna for 1 hour, I mean, now you're starting to push it. So for me, if you do it in a very responsible way, safe way, and you're feeling good when you're coming out, you could probably do it every single day.
Okay. So respectfully disagree.
Okay. That's okay. I can
respectfully disagree. Okay. I say that because the practice of most people that I've seen going to the sauna, regular sauna users, are longer. In a sense, I do think per bout, 10 to 15 is about the maximum.
Yeah.
I do agree on that. But then you'll take a break, which is like 5, maybe 10 minutes. Your skin temperature cools down, and then you jump back in. And then you do another 10 or 15 minutes, right? So there are bouts.
It's not 1 hour straight.
No. It's not 1 hour straight.
Right.
However, if that 1 hour straight is answering the question of dealing with climate, right? Environment. But now we're talking about heat therapy. So the model and the framework changes. So then you have these short bursts of 3 sets of 15 minutes, for example. So you get 45 minutes of heat exposure in total. Yeah. You take 5-minute breaks in between each one, and your entire sauna experience or heat therapy experience is 1 hour in length.
Right.
And that's okay. You know, that's not overdoing it.
So I agree with that, by the way. So I think I was going on the safe side, like trying to, again, not to push it. And looking at the literature, they seem to focus on that 10, 15 minute, but they were doing single bouts. Again, most of the time people are going to do 2 or 3 bouts of this. Right. So they're going to repeat it.
Yeah, there's cycles.
And there's cycles, and then you have cooling in between to be able to bring your skin temperature back down, and then you cycle through again. Right. So for me, I agree. I think that there's that safe practice, but this is also people that are used to doing this. So first time you're doing it, you know, the first timers that show up, same with cold water, you've never done it before, you jump in, you'll get a pretty dramatic response. I think it's the same thing. I think you have to be progressive and stuff. We kind of always want to get to level 100 before we start at level 1. You've never done this before. Just, you know, take it
ease into it.
Ease into it. And I think it's the same for all the temperature things that we can discuss. Is we have the tendency of looking for an average time. How much should I stay in? There's some people that are well heat acclimatized that could stay longer. Much longer than this, and actually have benefits related to staying in longer. But when you start, you got to start somewhere. And it's way better to start small than to start too big.
So what makes us feel so good when we get out of the sauna, be it 1, 2, or 3 bouts?
And beta endorphin release, for sure. There's definitely some kind of muscle relief. Sometimes it's immeasurable, kind of like the phantom pain of lower back. Sometimes people just feel, they report, right? And they tell you like, oh, I feel like my muscle feels better, you know? We can't measure that, right? It's a feeling thing. When someone tells you they feel, it's like, okay, shit.
And as physiologists, we can't say
that. That's why we came up with the 1 to 10 scale.
Yes.
Like for pain, like
we need to put numbers to that.
So those things, right? And just the general sense of well-being that follows. I think there's a lot that happens in the sauna that makes you feel good. That interestingly enough, doesn't get reported in the water immersion studies. Like when you immerse in hot water, people don't report that. They feel uncomfortable.
Interesting.
Yeah, they feel uncomfortable, and when they finish the intervention, they're still like, yeah, that wasn't great. Like, yeah. Whereas you put them in a sauna, and then, you know, after a few bouts, they're like, oh, I could do this again. Yeah, you know.
So the water is way more intense. I mean, it's not even on the same scale. So I mean, you're heating up much faster. It's a much bigger strain on the body.
Yeah, it's greater.
If you're in dry environment, well, dry sauna, for example, you're able to dissipate heat fairly well. So again, there's a lot of that tolerance that occurs. And I think what Earric alludes to, which is very important, and as physiologists, we're not allowed to say that in the past. Now I'm far enough in my career that won't hesitate to say it, but the psychological aspects of this is tremendously important. And we tend to focus on the biology and trying to find, okay, what hormones are being released? Oxytocin, we got dopamine, we got, if it's not released, then nothing happens. No, I feel better. So at the end of the day, I feel better. So what should be driving all of this is, how do you feel at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And I think this is where the sauna experience is far more than just you going into the heat. It's a celebration of you taking time. It's the end of a workout. Maybe a family time in Finland. It's a family time.
It could be end of the day time.
The end of the day. On military bases, it was always the end of the day. You go into the sauna, and it gives you a chance to recover, be warm.
So it's related to comfort. It's related to wellness.
Yeah.
And a social community as well, because you'll go hang out with your buddies. You know, you'll be like, hey man, I mean, this is what's commonly what happens in Europe is, like, you have your own sauna turn in your building, or in a building somewhere else where you pay a monthly fee or something like that, and it's like on every Saturday 4 p.m. So you call like 3 or 4 of your friends and go, hey man, sauna at 4 o'clock, let's go. And okay, let's meet over there, and then you'll go to the sauna, you'll talk, you socialize. Sometimes you don't have a personal sauna turn like that, but you could go to a public sauna and you have your own ritual of, right, I'll go to this public sauna at 4 o'clock. I know that Yuha is going to be there. I know that Tommy is going to be there, and I'll just meet them. I don't even have their phone numbers, but I know on Saturday, 4 o'clock.
It's like the pub. It's like a local pub.
Exactly.
It's probably out here.
Yeah, exactly. That's so the social aspect is really important, and I think like that needs to be promoted a lot.
When I was in Finland, I stayed with a friend, and she had a sauna in her shower.
Of course.
In an apartment. Like, that was, to me, mind-blowing. It was like, wow, what a luxury. And she said, no, that's not luxury. Exactly. But it brings me to the question, should we have here the same approach? Because our climates are not that different. They have extreme darkness over there, which we don't have in our latitudes. But from a public health point of view, should we include the practice of saunas as a health benefit and adaptation to the climate?
Oh, I believe so.
Yeah, and Scandinavians have brought this to Canada. I mean, I've worked in Northern Ontario. A lot of Finnish people settled near Thunder Bay. A lot of people had saunas there. I mean, there's a cultural... Do I believe it's important? I think it would be amazing, but not just on a biological side, but also, you know, on the sociological side, where we're able actually to bring families together, maybe have sauna time where you take a break, you go enjoy the sauna, time to relax, time to discuss. I mean, for me, I do believe that that's an amazing practice. And biologically, there's no doubt that it has tremendous impact. There's no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great... To Francois's point, I think like it's a great thing to have as part of like something like a me time thing, you know. But it's short, you know. It's short. It's sacred. It's easy to do if you have it in your backyard. It's like, yeah, of course I could go to the park for a walk, but you know I'd have to go to the park for a walk, and maybe I'll take an hour, maybe I'll take like 90 minutes. I don't know. It could be long, you know. I could go for a yoga class at 60 minutes. But if I turn on the sauna, I just go in there for like 10, 15 minutes, and I come out and I'm like, okay, honey, what's wrong? Let's talk now. Like
sauna therapy.
Like, I just finished my sauna. Okay, I'm relaxed now.
Yeah.
What's the problem again? You know? So that's like a really good, and I've seen that actually happening where people go like, okay, I can't do this right now. I need to go to the sauna. So they go to the sauna, and then after they come out like,
really?
Yeah.
It's like a meditation, I suppose.
Well, and it would be like yoga practice. I mean, there's no real real difference in that sense. Like it's any practice that you would do to make yourself feel better. You do have to follow certain rules, and there's some things you have to be concerned about so you don't get injured. But I think if you respect and you're self-aware, you respect your body's limits and you're self-aware, you can only get benefits out of it. I mean, that's the way I would see it. And I do think it would be an amazing practice here in Canada.
Yeah. There you go. Minister of Health, are you listening? Yeah. We have some ideas for you. Earric, François, merci beaucoup once again. That brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you liked what you've heard, feel free to share the episode and leave us a review on your favorite platform. You can also follow us on social media and visit our website at stromspa.com. And by subscribing to our newsletter, you'll never miss a thing. Thank you for listening. See you next time.